Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Why I've never felt uncomfortable with my Filipina wife. How was my marriage like rescuing someone from a burning house? Later I will explain myself. From the very first moment I met my wife in person, there has never been a moment of feeling uncomfortable with her. Considering I met her online just 39 days earlier and now was meeting her to marry her, you'd think there might be some kind of insecurity, but there wasn't any. Subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I'm going to encourage you to find a Filipina to marry and help you succeed with her. Your comments are always welcome, and sharing any of these videos will help other men to find love beyond the sea. It has always perplexed me how I could so rapidly propose to a younger woman from about 9,800 miles away, start immigration paperwork, and have her begin wedding invitations before I had even met her in person. Not only that, but coming off a verified, mind-boggling Guinness Book of World Records 30 years since I had had a relationship, for reasons you'll need to watch other videos to know, I would have expected some nervousness, maybe even a little anxiety, to see her for the very first time, marry her, honeymoon with her, then fly back to the United States. The whole process was surreal, and part of me wishes I could relive it all over again, just so I could slow it down and maybe even enjoy or savor the process more. That's why we have pictures and videos. It happened so quickly, yet at the same time it seemed like it happened in slow motion because it felt like we had communicated for longer. Why is it that I have never felt uncomfortable with her despite the differences? Was I consumed with all the details? There is a lot to do in a short amount of time when you propose to a woman in another country, then need to start a visa process, get a passport, ask for a month off work, make an appointment at the embassy in Manila, then leave the country for the first time in your life. I don't think my mother understood I was going to the Philippines to get married, not just to visit the woman I had started talking to her about. There are the travel plans. Sometimes I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I probably wasn't, but I was just taking it one quick step at a time. Thankfully, there was a passport weekend right around the corner, which allowed me to get the passport quickly. And then somehow I learned that I needed some immunizations, so we got those. And I narrowly missed the flight from LA to Manila when I didn't check in, but I didn't even know what that meant. My travel agent told me, but it went right past me, to check in. The plane had boarded when I showed up to the terminal because I didn't know what to do when I got to LAX. I had stood in the wrong line thanks to the employee that told me to do that. Then called my agent, who was fortunately at work, and told me I needed to take a shuttle. Somehow I got on the plane after leaving some luggage behind and having to call somebody down and go look for it and race it back up again. But I did get on the plane. I remember repeating, you've got to get me on that plane. I'm going there to get married. Many thanks to the Filipino workers there who got me on the plane. When things started to slow down after meeting with her, I still never felt uncomfortable or out of place with her. Maybe I was being foolish. To be honest with you, at this time I was not even aware of the risk of getting scammed. At least I don't recall that I was. I don't think I had the time to be informed of that because I had spent what seemed like 3 months in constant contact with my amazing Isa, even though it was really only 18 days before proposing to her. As I have explained in other videos, I knew all I needed to know and felt no reason to wait any longer to marry her. I prefer the word aggressive to foolish because foolish indicates making an uneducated, unprepared decision that is going to lead to ruin, but I felt prepared to take on a marriage. After having time to reflect on our relationship, I still never felt uncomfortable or out of place with her. Preparation plus opportunity equals success. So I felt well prepared by learning everything I could about marriage over those 3 decades, which were punctuated with a lot of depression because I desperately wanted to get going with the relationship. But I was always met head on with roadblocks. It is by the grace of God I didn't end my life. This relationship was not an overnight sensation. I was searching before she was even born. Think about that. I had felt ready for marriage for quite a while, only to get stymied. The good thing was I didn't give up, and as badly as I wanted to, I couldn't have lived with myself if I had. I was driven and just had to get married. When my wife right away offered me her focus if I would do the same, life was breathed into my hopes like God breathed life into Adam. Okay, that's a little dramatic. Maybe I was overly emotional. Is it possible I was too emotional considering the long dry spell, the rejection, the unanswered prayers? Did that somehow interfere with the ability to recognize the situation I had gotten myself into that should have made me uncomfortable? I don't think so. I had already endured the long wait and now had a chance to finally do what I had always wanted to do. I just wasn't expecting it to be with someone so far away. I think all the groundwork for the relationship had pretty much already been put into place over the years, and I felt like I was in sound mind and body. Was I in love with being in love? All right, perhaps as they say, I was in love with being in love. That's emotional, which I already dismissed a minute ago. Being in love is a wonderful thing, but I knew full well there would be the usual difficulties all couples face, not to mention the nuances of an international bicultural one. Age gap and all that. I was also working a lot of hours, so I think that helped me to temper my emotions some because I had to focus on my work. Possibility, another one here is, was I thinking at all? Well, it's not like I was a zombie. I had kept my pastor abreast of all the details by regularly meeting with him. He was a person who encouraged me to not give up trying to find a wife. That's a video I should link, so I think I will do that in the description box. I had made one where I interviewed him after my wife arrived from the Philippines. If my thought process had been askew, he would have cautioned me, but the only minor concern he had was that he thought it might be better if my fiance was a few years older. However, she is a mature woman. Meant to be. But why was I not nervous when I met her at the airport? Why was I not afraid finding myself in another country a million miles away? Why was I not embarrassed or self-conscious on our wedding night? Why does it seem like we were meant to be together? Probably because we were meant to be together. I never concerned myself with how quickly we got married. I only concerned myself with committing to her and accomplishing what I had considered my mission, to get married. My wife has not given me a reason to be uncomfortable. All the other things I've mentioned are part of this, but the clincher is my wife. She has been as steady as they come. She has accepted our relationship as any other, and so have I. I mean, how exactly were we supposed to feel? If there were a high degree of discomfort and doubt, that would mean something was wrong. It has been straightforward, but at no time has our experience been without emotion. We were both excited to get married. At no time has my wife said anything about us getting married too fast. Both of us believe that we are an answer to prayer, although the circumstances surrounding our coming together were quite different. She was 26, I was 53. That has never been a topic of conversation between us. We both had prayed for a spouse. I wanted to be married. She wanted to be married. I proposed to her. She accepted. I met her, as I said I would, and we got married in the Philippines in 2015 in May, and by January of 2016, she was here in the U.S. with me. Maybe I shouldn't use this analogy, but it does come to mind. It was sort of like rescuing someone from a burning house. You don't take or have the time to consider the consequences or risks. You just know you have to do something, and you better do it quick. You see potential destruction, and you know you have to make a move to save someone. You don't consider getting burned. You only focus on the outcome that you believe must happen, and you will risk it all to save a life. In this analogy, the burning house was my life, my dreams, my need for a wife. I could feel the heat from the flames. I could already feel weakness and dread that it might burn down for good. Inside the house was this little woman from Davao City, Philippines, who I needed to save from the burning house, and I ran further and faster than I thought I was capable of. I didn't die, wasn't burned. I didn't act in foolish haste. I knew what was at stake. I might not get this opportunity again. I felt like my dreams were burning to the ground and I couldn't let it happen. I am sure many of you who have married a Filipina can say, when it's right, or, when you know, you know. Please leave a comment about your love story here if you are inclined. I'm still pinching myself over ours. Although I was alone for many years, these days I feel like our souls have always been meant to be together. It just feels right. The past was all meant to be too, but these days my focus is on the future with my love beyond the sea.